Welcome to CrikeyCast, where we rewatch the episodes of The Crocodile Hunter and break it down for you. And hopefully you love Steve Irwin as much as we do. We're back. Episode 3. I gotta say, I was really excited. I look forward to this.
Yeah.
And I was sort of all week going like, can we do the pod? Can we do the pod? I was really looking forward to it. So, hello. We hope you're doing well. Glad you're tuning back in, whoever you are, wherever you are. Let's do episode 3. Before we do that, quick heads up. We're watching these linked through a Reddit post. So shout out to whoever found all these episodes and did that hard work. That was not us. And because of that, this next episode might be out of original order.
Yeah.
Is that how you would explain it?
Yeah, it's called the Irwin Archive on Reddit, and originally we watched the pilot, and they say in the archive that it's really hard to find the first few episodes of The Crocodile Hunter. So the way that they're on there is a little weird, and this was it said season 1, episode 1, but it starts off clearly after they've shot more stuff.
Yeah, this seems like it's later down. So regardless, not that it matters, but just a heads up, this probably isn't the real episode 3. It is episode 3 for us. And boy, is it different. It takes a turn, and it was a great time.
Yeah, and you can watch it. The link's in the description of this to go watch it yourself if you want.
There you go. And also, this is the first time Eric here watched the episode and didn't take notes. So I'm curious to see how it goes and how his memory does.
Yeah, should be fine.
Should be fine.
Well, yeah.
Just pure confidence.
Well, yeah, I just watched it.
I know, I'm just saying we typically take notes. I did, you didn't. I wonder if there'll be a difference.
Yeah, who knows?
Okay, let's do it. Dun 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 dun. That was the opening credits. Oh my god. First of all, we got a cougar episode, y'all.
Yeah. It starts off with just Terri taking photos out of a box of her and a full-sized cougar that she apparently was raised with.
I think she must have gotten into animals young, and she used to do something with this cougar. They have a very close relationship. Her name is Molina. And I gotta say, before any of this starts, I don't hate cougars. They scare the shiza out of me.
Yeah, they're not friendly.
They are so terrifying. Being people who live in North America, they're a very real threat. I do not like them. I have had run-ins with them. I don't. So I'm immediately like, oh no. New level of panic for me.
Yeah. I mean, they're big, they're scary, and they can eat you.
Yeah, well, they're not only that, they're sneaky and smart and terrifying. Yeah. They're all the things. So here we go. Cougar Ep. It's all about Molina. We're traveling from Australia to Oregon so that Terri can help Molina go to a new, refuge?
Yeah, they're taking her to a refuge from, I guess, her dad's house, but...
Molina was at her dad's house?
Well, I don't know. We'll get there. That's what
I don't know if
like.
that's true. I don't know. Yeah, it's a great... Maybe.
Yeah. So Steve has never been to the U.S., apparently. That's what we start with.
Yeah, so it sounds like Terri met Steve, 3+ years into being in Australia and then stayed with him and hadn't been back since.
No,
maybe?
She said she hadn't seen the cougar in 3 years.
Okay, so maybe just the cougar.
They don't give us a lot of backstory on when Steve and Terri met, how long she's been in Australia. So we don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get that later.
But we do know when she's taking these photos out of the box of her and Molina, they did know each other many years ago, probably in the 80s, because her hair is amazing.
Yeah, dude. I mean, an insane mullet perm.
A mullet perm is the perfect way to explain it.
Magical looking.
It's great. All right, so Steve goes to the USA.
She's a big cougar. But what's going to be more of a challenge is taking Steve to the United States for the first time.
And I love this because there's a new intro and a new opening song, and it's sort of like bunch of bird noises, and in between them, it's somebody just chanting like international, international. Which is very funny and not at all subtle.
Yeah. And we get the name Wild in the USA is whatever this episode is.
There we go. Perfect. So we arrive in LA, ironically enough. a sign that we see quite often since we live here. So we're back in our home now, I guess, and Steve is driving this little convertible through the freeways, and it starts just at an intersection where he's trying to take a right and he's panicking.
I think I'd sooner take on a 10-foot rattlesnake. I can't go through this quite.
Yeah. I get it. Driving is hectic out here, and I couldn't even imagine going from Australia where there's no traffic jams, especially if they live out in the country. Like, they never have to deal with more than a few cars at a time.
Right, and this is, I don't know, the 90s, right? So there's not even as bad as traffic as there is today. And you just know that Steve is going to be like, this is harder than what I deal with on a daily basis as far as, like, you know, wrestling crocodiles. And he says... He turns to Terri and he goes, "You want me to go into that?" Which is something he never even says before going into a crocodile den or pen or whatever.
Yeah, we've seen him go into the water with a croc at night while the lights turn off and be more comfortable than driving in LA. Yeah,
so the whole joke here is Steve feels more comfortable wrestling wild animals than driving through a city.
Oh, yeah.
Which, honestly, good on him. It is scary. Most people can't do it. That's why a lot of people don't live in big cities.
That is true.
But they also don't wrestle wild animals. So.
Yep. Teach their own.
Okay, so they're stuck in traffic. They drive around a bunch. They're trying to go to this hotel. Terri is teaching Steve. They get to their hotel, and Steve, like a boss, tosses his keys at the valet and walks into the Sheraton Hotel.
You going? All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Yep.
That's it, yeah.
It does, yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah, and then we get a cut to the next day. I feel like this is they planned it out a little bit to be like, let's give it a little plot line. So
it does feel...
Terry's talking about going shopping. Mm-hmm. They're showing shots of them walking around LA. Steve's classic and his full khaki outfit. And I think Terri is too, actually. But they look like they did in the pilot, but now just in a city, which is a crazy look.
A major joke in this episode is just how much Steve sticks out everywhere because he only wears this khaki t-shirt and shorts and his boots in every city, in every shot, and everybody else is more or less dressed for cold weather and also just dressed like regular people. And he does stand out. I think Terri makes a joke where she calls him... a modern day Tarzan or something, and he just like looks like, to me, like the action figure that I have of him walking through these cities because he doesn't wear anything but that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get it, like he's a personality, he's famous, like it works, but it looks hilarious.
It does look funny. Especially
in LA, like the land of outfits.
Yeah. And we don't get much in the city besides him walking around and shopping.
Well, yeah. They're like kind of being a little cheeky, like making fun of Steve and whatever. And he has a great quote where he says something like, shopping with Terri is like flat out like a lizard drinking, which I don't know what it means, but I love. Yeah. Another line I might have to adopt into my life.
There you go. Flat out like a lizard drinking.
He does stop by a window with a bullet hole in it.
Oh, yeah.
And there are two mannequins, and there's a bullet hole in front of the mannequins, and he does this whole bit where he talks about, he's like, oh, this one almost took a bullet in the shoulder.
How's this bullet hole? Nearly got him in the shoulder.
Yeah. And he also pronounced mannequin so weird. It's like mannequin.
Mannequin.
Yeah.
Very cute. Very fun.
Yeah. Also very LA to see a bullet hole in the window of a storefront.
Classic. Poor Steve. Okay, so then we head to the Wildlife Waystation, which is another refugee. Refuge. And we are starting to piece together that the point of this episode is they like make a lot of stops. They can't just go see Molina right away. So there's a lot of stops along the way.
Yeah.
So we're headed to Wildlife Station, and we get there, and they are greeted by a bunch of little baby tigers on chain leashes.
Playing with a dog.
Yeah.
That's a funny little scene of just this woman feeding raw chicken to these... With tigers, lions? They
were little baby tigers. I mean, there were some lions, but the tigers were on the chain leashes like a dog would be.
Yeah.
So, wait, I lost my spot.
All right, I know what happens.
Okay,
so,
yes.
Yeah, so we see like a little bit of that. Then we meet this guy. We're going to meet some Hollywood stars.
Also Steve.
Yes.
New Steve.
And he takes them over to an area where he has a bunch of insects that he uses for movies and TV.
Yes. He is a well-known, famous bug supplier, provider, and caretaker for large movies.
Yeah.
Which is cool because I know it exists, but you know, these people don't get talked about a lot. And the first time I learned about this was in the movie Nope, right? Nope.
The one with the alien?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Because they have horses?
Yeah, because it's about
Oh, yeah.
it's about like the first man who would take care of horses for them to be on set.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Nice. But
I thought it was sick.
Well, we cut to seeing a tarantula that they put on Terri.
Yeah.
And it's horrifying looking, but they all seem cool with it. He's like a specialist who's like, yeah, it's not going to bite you.
Yeah, and he even says that he can train them. So apparently he can make the tarantulas, and we see a little bit of this, lay on their back so he can pet their tummy. He can get them to do headstands. He can get them like curl up into little balls.
Wow.
So not only does this guy own and take care of a bunch of bugs, he's got them sort of trained, which is also crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Not my cup of tea, but they push really hard for the fact that once you hang out with these movie bugs, you will have a hard time hating them because they're not dangerous and they're more well-mannered, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, we get to see some like really wild cockroaches that are bigger than a normal
Oh,
cockroach.
yeah, the Madagascar cockroaches. Disgusting. Honestly, Terri freaks out more over the cockroach than the spider. She gets a little weird
They're
with
gross
that.
looking, yeah.
They're huge. They're like about 3 or 4 inches.
Yeah.
They're gnarly. And we find out that Steve, the owner of the bugs, has worked on movies such as Matilda and James and the Giant Peach and a movie with Robin Williams. I can't remember which one.
Jack. And arachnophobia.
What? Crazy.
Be cool.
Very cool. We then leave Steve, the other Steve, behind, and we're off to Oregon to meet Terri's family, who she tells us own a Mexican restaurant, which is the most American thing ever. Just a nice white family owning a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. They're telling stories. There's a little cut of like, I don't know, 12 people around a table while they're just telling Australia stories.
Yeah, it sounds like they're kind of ribbing Steve, and Steve's kind of joking and laughing and also going like, no, there's realness to this or something. It's a very shortcut.
Yeah, very shortcut. And then we go to Molina.
We actually, no, before we get to Molina, see, this is where the notes help, the notes come in handy. Next we get a shot of Steve just straight up on his hands and knees, bent over a rattlesnake in the middle of the woods, which as a person from Idaho, and you also being a person who has spent a lot of time in wilderness and many mountain ranges, on the rattlesnake front.
No.
Hard pass.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. You don't want to hear one. You don't want to see one. We heard one actually on a river trip just a summer ago, and everyone lost. We just heard one, and everybody lost their minds.
Yeah.
They're terrifying.
And he's laying down, it turns out, 12 inches from one?
He's so close. And Terri says, like, she doesn't usually see people are able to handle rattlesnakes in the way that he is. And he just, like, picks it up, checks it out. It rattles a little bit, but it's pretty calm, and he puts it in a box.
Yeah.
Ugh, dude, they're so poisonous and scary.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I don't know.
No thanks.
Yeah. Well, they're
what?
taking. I guess they took it with them too. They go to like a snake sanctuary as well.
Okay, so then we end up at the snake sanctuary, and we get just so many amazing Britney Spears moments with Terri and
Britney
Steve
Spears
holding these massive pythons.
Oh yeah, like what? 12-foot pythons?
Oh my gosh! Not only are they 12 feet, like their bodies around are thicker than my thigh.
Yeah.
And that I got a pretty thick thigh. They are huge.
Yeah.
Yuck.
Yeah.
I held a python once when I was younger in school with like 3 other people, and I remember they're super heavy.
Yeah.
And they're really strong, so when they move around, it's hard not to panic, but I absolutely hated it. Like, I don't have a strong fear of snakes, but I still didn't like it. And they are just like swimming in these guys. Terri and Steve are.
Yeah. A regular one. What are they? What's the name? Where are they from?
The pythons?
Yeah, they're like a something
Amazon?
python. I forget exactly what
Are they
it was.
from the Amazon?
It'll come back to me. But yeah, they have an albino one, a regular one, and they get them both out there. Maybe the weirdest joke of the whole thing is
This was so strange.
Steve, he's holding the big one and he's like, oh, do you breed? Do you breed with this one? Like trying to say, do you mate it to make other pythons? And the guy goes, only when I'm desperate or something like that, insinuating that he himself mates with the python, which was a weird joke.
And they left that joke in there, which is especially strange because kids show mostly, and this guy makes a joke about effing snakes.
She's a little champion. Do you breed with this one?
Not personally. Except that's when I'm really desperate.
I had to pause it and turn to Eric, and I was like, wait, did he actually just make that joke? Because we don't talk a lot while watching the episode, but I had to clarify. I was like, that's freaking weird.
I feel like snake people are weird in general, so that just
is
more evidence for the fact.
Could be a stereotype.
Yeah, well,
no,
until I'm proven wrong.
I think you have to be. I think being weird is good, too. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There are some amazing shots where the python is like fully stretched out on the ground and Steve is laying like a little kid with his chin like stacked on his hands on the ground with his like feet in the air. He looks so happy. It's so contagious, and they're taking all these pictures, and he looks just like the happiest kid in the world, hanging out with the equivalent of something 3 times his size.
Yeah.
Yuck.
Huge.
Yuck.
It's wild to see him laying on the ground in Terri with these things all the way stretched out. Just shows you how huge they are.
Yeah. Terrifying. We then go inside for just a moment and we meet like some frogs and some other things, and the greatest cut of all time happens where Terry's holding this big African bullfrog and it starts peeing all over her, and Steve just goes, great stuff. And then it cuts away, and I just love that they joke with each other and make fun of each other. And she's covered in frog pee and she doesn't even care.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder what frog pee smells like.
I bet you it doesn't smell bad.
Do you think? It probably smells just like muddy water.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I bet.
Then we head off to the Bucks. So we're making another stop as some people who also have some refugee animals, and we meet some nutrias, and Steve and Terry go canoeing, and we see some river otters.
Yeah. This is jam-packed with American wildlife so far.
Tons. Like, yeah, you can tell yes, this is an American animal episode.
Yeah.
So Terry makes one more stop, taking Steve to the coastline so he can see some sea lions, and they're playing around in the rough water. And we've all seen a sea lion. They're cute, they're fun, but not super cool. Yeah. If I may say so myself. Sorry for the sea lion hate.
Yeah, man. What's wrong with sea lions?
I don't know. They're just like, well, she calls them the clowns of the ocean, which I think that they are. They're very playful, but you know, watching a bunch of cuts of sea lions like put their heads up and stuff, it just doesn't do anything
Didn't
for
do
me.
it for you?
No.
Didn't scratch the itch?
I don't care
Not
for
dangerous enough?
Well, they're just, okay, I'm going to tell you the truth. I have a hard time watching sea lions for a long time. Same with walruses, because their bodies look so uncomfortable, like they have to hold their head up the whole time, that my body starts to hurt picturing if I had to live like that, so I don't like to watch them.
Okay. I guess that's kind of weird, but it makes sense.
I don't know. That's just me. So we finally get to Molina.
Yeah.
We get to meet the cougar.
Yeah. Who's in a pretty shoddy setup. Just like a...
Yeah, I don't know if she's in a very big cage.
Yeah, it's not that big.
No, and she's looking hefty.
Yeah, she's a big... The cat is not in a good spot, so I think it's good they're getting her out of there. We don't get a lot of backstory on why she's there, where exactly they are.
Yeah.
I have assumed it was her dad's house. I feel like
It's so funny, though, to think that, like, Terry's dad has a cougar in his backyard. Like, does he also own a refuge or what?
Yeah, I don't know.
We don't know.
We don't get enough backstory.
But she immediately is like, okay, let's see if she remembers me, and goes in. And they go into this description of how Terry needs to make sure she stays on her feet, and she needs to stay close to the fence so she can hold on to it, because if Molina were to attack and take her to the ground, then it would be all over. And I wrote down, I hate this, because I just am so afraid of cougars anyway, and she's willingly walking in this cage. And I'm sorry, spoiler alert, this cougar doesn't remember her.
Nope. She doesn't want to know you.
Nor does it want to hang out. Yeah.
It's the whole thing is very walking on eggshells.
Yeah, I'm stressed. I gotta be honest. This probably stressed me out more because I know these animals better than watching. Like, I would never wrestle an alligator, but like watching her try to
don't
play.
Say never. You never.
I think I could say never.
No, you never say never.
Oh, God. So she is in there with it, and it's kind of growling, and they are trying to get it. Molina into this truck. And my brain thought, like, you know, I don't know, get her into some sort of a crate situation, in some sort of a, you know, more legit looking truck. No.
Yeah, it's like an S10 with a camper shell.
Like a dog taking on a hike. They're just trying to like force her to jump into the back of this truck so that they can then just close up the back.
Yeah, spoiler alert, she doesn't want to go.
No, she doesn't want to go. They're then trapped in this little chute, Steve and Terri and the growling cougar. And we were both like clenching.
Yeah. I mean, in all these episodes, I know that they're alive for much more. Terry's still alive now. I know that they survived for many years, but it makes me nervous even watching it that something horrible is going to happen.
Totally. And it constantly reminds me that Steve eventually did meet his maker doing this kind of work, but it wasn't that day.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in the show.
Doesn't
it wasn't
change
filmed.
how scary it is.
It's so scary. I was sweating a lot during this episode. So they close her in there and it's stressful. And then boom, we're off to Toronto. So we're giving Molina a break and we're headed to Canada. Why? Because they have a lot. That was me silently being really excited.
Because they were on a morning show?
You just staring at me. Yeah, they were on the Today Show.
Nah, that wasn't in Toronto. They were on two different. They were on
they're
three
on
different
three.
shows.
Okay,
Yeah.
whatever. They're
just
on a live
some
show.
Yeah, they're on some live show doing an interview about their documentaries, is what they call them.
Oh, right. This was like a little show.
Yeah.
But it's very cute. There's like a bunch of fans outside and
Yeah.
they're getting their makeup done and Steve is making jokes and
They show them in the interview and he's like standing up, like showing how he wrangles a croc.
Because as they wiggle and you flip them into the boat, and then it's Terry's problem.
yeah.
And everybody's laughing. It's a good time.
I know, and he looks pretty stoked. He like makes a little joke on live air and then does this little smile to camera shot and he just looks very happy. And his happiness is infectious.
Yeah.
I will say it's like so it feels we don't really watch anything that's this joyful these days. I feel like most of the shows are dark and it's just nice to see somebody who like is so positive and stoked all the time, or at least while filming. But I have a hard time thinking that he's not like that all the time.
I mean, it kind of feels like it would be hard to keep up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe that's part of the outfit, like the khaki top and the khaki shorts gives you that sort of outlook on life.
Maybe he's just a simple man who wants to hang out with his animals.
Yeah.
So then we get all these like amazing cuts of him in taxis and driving around, and he's in his little outfit again. He's like the only person with bare legs, and he's yelling "good day" and "hi mate" and all these things out the window.
Oh, in New York, right?
Oh, so are we in New York now?
Yeah, we go to New
Now
York.
we're in New York.
And we get inside of a limo.
Well, yes, and he's just having the time of his life, and he's sort of saying to Terri like, "Wow, people aren't that friendly here."
G'day, mate. Gee, they're not very talkative, are they?
Yeah.
And I just was thinking, like, can you imagine? We can't imagine being from another country and coming here, but I feel like you get a sense of it, of just like the American vibe or whatever. Granted, New York is a big city, but he's getting a crash course
Yeah.
in what it's like.
Yeah. And it's just a nice little sequence of driving, him hanging out the window, and nobody giving him the time of day.
I know. Poor Steve.
Yeah.
So then we find out that they're going to Conan's show. They're going to go to Conan's show, which is sort of a cool collision. What?
We do the Today Show first.
Oh, well, yeah, but nothing happened, so we don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, but they go and do the Today Show,
All
which
right,
is
1
pretty
point for
big.
Eric who didn't take notes.
Yeah.
So
We
what
do.
happened on the Today
Also,
Show?
we go to an or not an Airbnb, but a bed and breakfast first,
Oh.
which is a funny little. It shows them in the bed together. It's a fun sequence.
Not in the, they like lay down in their clothes.
Shows them
for-
having sex. It's all blurred out.
Steve's still in his outfit. No, none of that happens. So what do you have to say about the Today Show?
They seemed excited about it. They didn't really show us the interview, but
Well, I don't think they can because it aired.
yeah, and I think that's probably the same with Conan. It's like they don't show us the actual footage from the interview. But-
Yeah, we get very little of the Conan show because they can't take their own cameras backstage and stuff. Loud car just went by. So what we do get from the Conan show is they go to this like what seems like an after party, and there's a lot of we're back. So there's like a lot of city types, and everybody's kind of dressed up, black tie. Here's Steve still in his shorts and
we get like
boots.
7 shots of like them going on the ground and just showing his bare legs.
Yeah.
A little more imagination when it comes to his wardrobe.
Tons of voiceover of Terry being like, and there's Steve with his bare legs, and then a nice pan of his same old outfit, which again, the juxtaposition is funny, and I love him for it. It takes a lot of confidence to just be who you are, especially in, you know, I don't know, an after party of a show like Conan. Good for him.
Yeah, he's unapologetically Steve.
I know. I appreciate it. We get a small moment after this where people start like recognizing him, and he's signing autographs and he's taking photos, and it feels like a cute fan.
Feels like a throwback to the days when people would watch TV all the time. Like if people were watching the Today Show and then or Conan, and then the next day they're seeing him out in New York and asking for autographs, which is crazy.
Crazy. Yeah. And I to be there. Can you imagine? The only thing better than us having this podcast, the Steve shirts, and each our own action figures would be to have a signature from him. Have met him. Yeah. I would say one day, but R.I.P. my brother.
Well, yeah, it's not gonna unless you buy one that's already been. But
no, it's not the same.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. I wonder if they're exhausted, or maybe this was over a month and they got to sleep a lot in between. But either way, we're headed back to Oregon.
Oh, but no. First, we got the subway. We have a great sequence.
See, I didn't think that was super interesting, so I didn't write it down.
Then I'll give you 10 seconds of it.
No, so give us 20.
We go down to the subway, and Steve's doing a bit, talking about how there's going to be a big silver monster that comes out of this big hole. And then they ride the subway for a stop or two where he's doing kind of like, he's like talking about the situation in the subway car. And it looks like Terry's a little uncomfortable. And at one point she goes, "Do you know how dangerous this is?" And then it cuts to them getting off. So it feels like it got a little awkward on the subway car with Steve doing Steve.
Steve doing bits.
Yeah.
And him again saying, like, what I do is dangerous, and also living in New York is dangerous. Right. Funny. So then may I?
Go.
Take us back to Oregon.
Mm-hmm. Do you say Oregon or Oregon?
You're
Oregon?
Kidding, right? It's Oregon. Anybody who says Oregon can get bent.
It's G-O-N, though.
No, but it's pronounced Oregon.
Okay, my bad. Just asking.
As somebody from the West, I feel like I know this, but I know other people will probably say it's Oregon. I've never met anybody who seriously calls it Oregon.
Me either.
So why are you...
I don't know. We got this podcast. I might as well ask the hard-hitting question.
No, I'm here for it. Right. Keep it up. Well, when we get there... We take a pit stop with a raccoon that's crawling all over Steve's back. I'm a huge fan of the trash panda. Yeah. I'm into it.
It's a healthy raccoon. We talk about how it washes its food and water even though it doesn't need to.
So cute. Love it. He meets some little beavers, one of which makes some very cute noises. It keeps going, ah, and Steve is going, "What's wrong, mate?" And I love it.
Yeah, it does sound like a cartoon voice of a beaver.
The sound of the beaver is very interesting. Little baby beaver.
Yeah.
We meet some Arctic foxes.
Yeah, that are trying to eat Terri while she's laying on the ground.
Yes, Terry's laying on the ground in the pen. They're kind of eating her clothes, and Steve makes a nice joke that she must smell like something dead because they're trying to eat her, and she simply looks at him and says, "Thanks for that."
Obviously, Terry smells like something dead because these foxes do eat carrion.
Thanks a lot.
I did notice in this episode more than any of the Australia ones, and maybe it's the type of animals they're dealing with. They're laying on the ground a lot. And like with the foxes, she's laying on the ground. With all the snakes, he's been laying on the ground. It feels like a way to make yourself small enough so they don't feel as like you're a predator because you're down low. Yeah,
we don't really learn why they're doing that, but I think it must be that, and it must be something that these animals are around humans enough that this is the best way to be around them is on the ground. I don't know, but also these Arctic foxes are so cute, and I love them so much. Yeah. And
I've never seen one before that.
Really? Ever? In your whole life?
No, never.
Well, they're how?
Not even a photo.
Really?
I don't think so.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they're white foxes. It's crazy looking.
Yeah, but even a photo.
Yeah.
Did you go to school?
I did. I didn't. We didn't study Arctic foxes in South Carolina.
Oh, well, I did. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, where did you hear about them?
When did you know that an Arctic fox, because they're all white, when they're either hunting or being hunted to hide in the winter, they'll stick their nose in the snow because it's the only black part of them.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That also might be a polar bear. I don't know. I'm not the professional
If
here.
you hadn't said anything, nobody would have questioned
Steve
it.
should be the one giving us this info, but this isn't so much an educational episode as it is a tour around America.
Yeah.
He does hold a golden eagle for a little bit, and then he holds a bald eagle, and I will say both is very cool because one, he's freaking jazzed, but two, he just like puts his face in these animals' faces. And I know eagles aren't super scary or anything, but they do have this really big hook.
Yeah.
What is that called?
Beaks? Yeah.
And he just loves getting up in there.
Yeah. Makes me nervous to see it. It's so big compared, like, you don't see a human compared to a bald eagle very often. And it's like half the size of a human.
They're big. And the golden eagle is even bigger. I mean, its
Yeah.
wingspan is as tall as Steve is.
Yeah.
It's crazy. He does have a very cute moment with the bald eagle where they're just like gazing in each other's eyes lovingly. And Steve is very excited that, here he is in America and he's holding the symbol of America. And the eagle goes like, ah, and opens his mouth and he turns to the camera and he just goes, it's got fish breath, which made me giggle.
That does make me giggle too.
Then we take a quick jaunt over to
Oh my God, is this the bears?
the bear pen.
Oof.
This was a tough one for us.
Bears are dangerous, dude.
We're back in clench city mode
So
here.
yeah, and this is like a habitat thing. So like they're rehabilitating all of these bears.
Right,
They're not
they're
like
all
wild
saved.
bears, but
Yeah.
still they're dangerous,
And they're huge. So they say, like, we're going to skip the brown bears and we're going to let Steve hang out with the black bears. And there's 3 of them in there. And they are all just around him.
Yeah.
And he, again, is
Sniffing 'em.
crouched down. He's, like, almost letting them kiss his face. He's
There's
so
a part
close.
of it where he does like get down around all 3 of them. Ugh, I mean the sequence is crazy because they show how like he's getting close. They're testing him out. And the guy's like, "Ooh, be careful." And at one point, one of them puts its upper lip up, and he's like, "Give it some space."
Yeah.
And so it's like very hot and cold.
Oh, it's nerve-wracking. And again, like, I've had a lot of life encounters with bears, and I didn't like this.
Yeah, me either.
I wouldn't want to do it. I didn't like it. I just let a little burp slip out. Excuse me. So it was nerve-wracking. And at one point, like, he then meets a grizzly, and there's just some like clawing of clothing and some let's step back and some gnawing of arms a little bit. And they keep saying like, wow, this bear is being really intentional to be gentle. And I wrote down like, one, I guess being calm is a huge part of dealing with animals. It makes sense. Like if you're calm, they're calm. But how? The training or the instinct to stay calm in those situations, I don't have. I would immediately panic and do something like run away.
Yeah.
And they are so chill. And I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I mean, really, like testing fate with that grizzly bear.
That's what it feels like.
The guy who ran it was with him, and he knows the bear really well, so he was like letting it gnaw on his arm, and then they let it gnaw on Terry's arm and Steve's arm. Yeah. Which is cute, but also if it wanted to, it could just snap your arm like that.
I know. And they love to mention that, like,
Yeah.
If anything had gone wrong, I would have lost my arm. So, yuck. But the grizzly does have a best friend, and it is a little orange tabby cat, and that is very cute.
Yeah, that was just poised, ready to strike.
That was adorable. Our dog is now crawling up into the microphone. Hi, it's not about you, but you're cute. So, we get back to Molina to wrap it all up. Mm-hmm. Molina is in her new, I don't want to say cage, home.
Yeah.
It's bigger.
Pen.
She's laying around.
Yeah.
And Terri attempts to play ball with her.
Yeah, and Molina's either remembers Terri and is super sassy about it.
She's mad.
Or she's completely moved on and forgotten about her. But I will say that
friendship over.
Yeah, the situation's much better than the one we start with Molina in. Like, seems like a much better enclosure.
Yeah, she seems more calm and a little more like she's in her area, but they're still not getting very close to her because she's growling a lot, and she doesn't want to play catch with the ball. Not that a cat can play catch, but you know what I mean. Terry's like, I don't know, throwing the ball at her, and Molina's like knocking it off the whatever,
Yeah.
the thing that she's laying on. I don't know. And
We tie a nice bow in it with a bunch of photos of Terri and Molina doing like pageants, or maybe they're just doing a professional photo shoot. I don't know. But it shows us what they used to be like when the cougar liked her.
yeah, and we get to see Terry's wonderful hair again, and Terri says like she wishes she could bring Molina to Australia, but this is the best place for her. And I don't know why one of her best friends is a cougar, but
Kind of explains where she's at.
yeah,
now,
good on her. It does explain how she fell in love with the modern Tarzan. And I honestly, as much as I love this, I will say as soon as this episode was over, I was sort of relieved. And I think we both had to like get up and walk away because it was stressful in its own right.
Yeah.
And I like it, keeping us on our toes.
Yep, that is true.
Woo!
It's a heater.
We did it. I did it with notes. You did it without.
Yep. It's doable.
It's
They said it couldn't be done, but look at us now.
well, regardless, I'm excited to do it again soon.
All right, let's give it a rating.
Ooh.
Do you remember our rating scale from last time?
Yes, but I wanted to change mine, so you go.
All right, well, I'm going to give it a certified 8 crikeys out of 10, mostly for coming to the U.S., being in the city where we are now. Mm-hmm. The different types of, it was packed with animals. There was danger, for sure. So I give it 8 crikeys.
Okay, I like it. I think I'm going to go with a 7 only because I am so uncomfortable with the cougar stuff and some of the snake stuff. It was hard on me. I'm going to go with a 7 lizard drinking. 7.
Is it lizard drinking or light?
Flat out like a lizard drinking 7.
Okay, there we go.
That's my vote.
Great.
All right, we hope you come back, and we hope we come back, and all the things.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
All right, bye.